So warmly welcome with another important book number 1, Hazard Recognition and Control. So far, we have discussed why WPRs are important for Saudi Aramco, how ethically the WPR have to play their role at their project site, and most importantly, how sharp, how intelligent they have to be as a hazard recognizer, proactively playing their role like a leading role model, inshallah, as a front safety leader, and making sure nothing will go wrong before or during, or every process in the world have 3 stages: before, during, and after. So before starting a process, what safety precautions, what safety regulations you have to follow, and the moment you are performing this process, like during the process, what safety regulations or procedures are important to follow in, and same way, once the project is finished, what are the safety requirements, especially specific to Saudi Aramco, because this training is all about Saudi Aramco safety regulations and all, especially relevant to WPRs and comprising on GAI 2.100. I told you Saudi Aramco have a lot of GIs. You talk about any material, process, activity, you will find something within Saudi Aramco database, a guideline, a document, an SOP. Nothing is hidden from their side, but sometimes we are reluctant to ask help from Saudi Aramco officials, and that personally I noted several times and asked to the safety managers, especially, you are a safety manager, why you are scared from Saudi Aramco? Ask them. I mean, if you are missing some procedures or some GIs you don't have, ask them, because they are there as a customer to support you, not to dominate you, but to support you. Rather than having a scary behavior, why don't you be bold enough and talk to them and ask for help? I mean, you need procedures, ask. You need GIs, you need any sort of formats, you need specific kind of trainings, even particular relevant to the particular topic. You can raise your voice, They will never stop you up. And to be very honest, personally, by delivering a lot of sessions to Saudi Aramco professionals directly, I have realized they are very much positive personalities, Only we must be familiar how to deal them, how to approach them, and how are we gonna get some better help from their side as a customer. If you will be scary and you will not ask anything to Saudi Aramco, they will not come to you, Okay, look, this is what you are looking for. You need to approach them. So we need to remove that hesitation, even as a WPR, I would say. Any company man at any project site, don't run away from him. Talk to him, keep him updated, tell him this is what is going on. Just make sure you are capable enough as a good communicator, and make sure you can handle him politely, positively, with productive discussions. Okay, guys. So this book number 1, the terminal objective, even though we already discussed, but this is based on GI 2.100. Objectives are quite straightforward: identify practices, hazards, and conditions that can lead to an incident, and list methods to recognize and control hazards, and also recognize common Saudi Aramco workplace hazards and associated controls. So let's start with part number 1. Guys, can you mute your, please mute your mic, so there shouldn't be any problem to anyone. No disturbance, no distortion. I already muted, by the way, to everyone except me. I hope now it will help not to create any distortion, inshallah. Now, look at part number 1 is identify practices, hazards, conditions that can lead to an incident. Of course, there is always a reason behind of any accident. Without a reason, nothing would happen, right? So that is why Saudi Aramco, what they expect is to understand the answer of first important question: what is a hazard? As per the theory of Saudi Aramco, what is a hazard? You know how they elaborated? What they mentioned is a hazard is anything that can cause harm to 4 important elements, which is like people, environment, assets, even business itself. So PEAB, any hazard is a hazard is anything that can cause harm to PEAB, people, environment, assets, and business. That is why sometimes one terrible accident and the whole business is over. Everything destroyed, and maybe the business is shut down. Maybe because of fire accident, everything burned out, God forbid. And on the other side, you can go back and check the history of 100 years, how many accidents have happened, and the whole industry is shredded up and fired up and burned up, just because of smallest mistakes, or maybe unsafe acts, maybe because of unsafe conditions, or not following safety regulations actually. And as a human being, it's a very terrible phenomenon that we learn after accidents mostly. While we have to be active before anything bad happened, like any incident or accident or near miss, proactively we have to be in line with our positive approach, not to let anything badly happen within our organization, especially to people, environment, assets, and business. Because everything we can regain, but one life destroyed means hard to get back. And on the other side, if I be more straightforward, for our families, we are the only heroes, right? No contingency plan. Might be our company, even Saudi Aramco, they can get new people within no time. But what about our families? That is why safety is our own need as well. Safety is our own necessity, guys. And necessity is the mother of invention. This is our own need for us, for our families, But still, we are thankful for Saudi Aramco. We are thankful to our top management to train us, to give us opportunity and enlighten us relevant to safety regulations. Now it is our behavior, our mindset, either to ignore safety regulations or to follow. This is our own behavior. And there are positive behaviors, there are negative behaviors. Every company is different, Every mind is different. Every human being is different, guys. We are a unique product, right? Sometimes I say dealing one brain is more difficult by dealing 100 different machines, comparing to 100 different machines. Like I can manage 100 different machines maybe quite easily, but managing 100 different brains are the most important, terrible, complicated task in the world, On the other side, we all know son is different than father, brother is not equal to brother. All are different, all are not having same nature, not same education level, not same culture they are grown up. So how are we going to bring them up and changing their mindset and convincing them safety is important, guys? Don't ignore safety. How many accidents are happening still even today, Think about the roadside accidents. Think about the accident at the site, how many bones are broken just because of poor safety culture, maybe not following safety regulations, and plenty of other reasons, of course, including some environmental issues as well. But the ultimate goal is we have to have a positive safety environment or system to keep our people safe, to keep our environment safe, to keep our assets, integrity and everything to be safer, and ensure the continuity, the business excellence and sustainability of our business. That is the ultimate purpose of a safety system, Not only fulfilling formalities, like everybody is filling a lot of forms and nobody is thinking what is taking. Let me give you an example. I'm a safety auditor as well. In one of the company, I asked to the forklift operator, can you show me some of your checklist, daily inspection checklist? And what he showed me, to be very honest, every checklist was 100% tick. And I asked him, How come nothing is bad at your forklift, for the last 90 days actually? Even though I didn't check all 90 checklists, just randomly I verified, and all the checklists I found 100% tick that everything is okay. If everything is okay, that means a straightforward shut up call to the maintenance division. Don't do anything because my forklift is 100% okay, which is not okay, by the way. And that's what I did. I asked that guy, can you show me your forklift? And you know what happened? Tires quality was terribly poor. Safety belt was not buckling up. The guy was not having any sort of PPs even on board. The paint was scratched up. The forks from where you are going to lift up, the weight, even they were not properly adjusted, even wobbling up. Terrible condition was there. But on the checklist, everything is okay. I hope you got the point. So you as a WPR, please, if you are checking the boxes, realize from today to onward, don't tick blindly. You have to stop, think, and make sure you are doing a genuine tick, not the fake tick, if you truly want to be a lifesaver. Because ultimately goal is to saving people, environment, assets, and business. That is why we need to understand the types of hazards, how hazards can kill, what kind of hazards are there, how many hazards belong to safety, how many hazards belong to health. Like this coronavirus is a biological hazard. Biological hazards comes under health hazards, directly affecting to our health. So any hazard directly affecting to our health is a health hazard. Any hazard directly affecting to our safety is a safety hazard. So our concepts must be clear. We can't memorize 10,000 words or 1 million words, but we can clear our concepts and our life would be easy and we'll be better safety professional, inshallah. I hope you got the point. So anyhow, as per Aramco, the definition is quite clear. What is hazard? Anything that can cause harm to people, environment, assets, and business. I hope you will never forget what is the definition of hazard as per Saudi Aramco safety standards. Okay. Now, the second important question is, what is safety then? Again, Saudi Aramco is helping us. I'm not talking about NIBOSH theories or IOSH or OSHA or some others. We are talking about Saudi Aramco safety standards. So as per Saudi Aramco, what they believe is safety is freedom from risk or harm, loss or injury. Freedom from risk or harm, loss or injury. So it's a freedom. It's freedom from any sort of risk or harms, or people would be safer, nothing would go wrong because everybody is responsible, following safety regulations, conditions are safe, very minimal unsafe acts are there, everybody is responsible, a great safety culture is there. So that company, that project site is free from risk or harm, because of an effective safety management system, well executed, implemented through effective WPRs or safety officers, safety supervisors, or maybe safety managers. Or on the other side, it's a teamwork. It's a teamwork, like janitor to general manager. Everyone is responsible for safety, Everyone. Whoever is not realizing that my safety is my responsibility, bring him to me, to be very honest. Otherwise, talk to him individually and let him realize your safety, gentlemen, first of all, your responsibility. You need trainings, we are here to support. You need some PPs, we are here to provide. We are a service department, not like the policing department 24 hours watching you like a watchman, How come I can ensure your safety 12 hours if your mindset is unsafe? So a lot of energy we required as a safety profession. That is why I sometimes say it's not an easy profession, guys. It's okay, it's a money-making profession, but it's not an easy profession. Because you have to deal with different kind of minds, and might be in your company, you have 500 employees. 500 means different mindset. And if your project have 150 different contractors, now think about how many minds are there. So we have to be brilliant in mind as a change ambassador, as a mind changer, you know, how to tackle different mindsets, especially the negative mindsets or the unsafe mindsets who doesn't care what his safety is all about, or simply they damn care about safety regulations. These are the mindset like a killer, like a murderer we have in our companies, guys. And that is our real challenge, you know, to deal them in an efficient way, that we have to convince them and bring them with our, you know, team, even though it doesn't look easy. We are also human beings. How much energy we can put in place. Sometimes we are also got tired, but still it's an ibadah. The moment you will start considering this safety profession is like an ibadah, you will never get tired. And I'm an example for you, I'm telling you. I've been training more than 18 hours sometime, but I don't get tired, even though I'm a human being, because Allah is there to help me, right? It's the best ibadah in the world, that you are a source to keep people safe. You are giving them a light how to ensure their safety. Like a welder is a welder, guys. He is not an educated person like you. A crane operator is only a crane operator. Don't expect he is the best safety professional like you. You are knowledgeable, technically sound, you understand the regulations, but how come you can ignore if he is not following safety regulations, or he needs some training, and you have the knowledge and not sharing with them? It's purely unethical. And on the other side, are we going to take the whole knowledge into graveyard, into our graves? It's a temporary world, right? Today or tomorrow, everyone have to die. That's the real fact. So what is the best strategy? Sharing and caring. I'm just trying to motivate you guys. Even today you are learning, start sharing this knowledge. Start sharing this knowledge. And don't expect he's a janitor, he's a crane operator, he doesn't deserve to learn. He's a human being, you know. If you will not guide him, he will do a silly mistake and ultimately gonna be die. Maybe in next moment, and then you will start repenting. Oh God, I was the one fully familiar how to keep this particular process safe, you know, but unfortunately I didn't share the knowledge. I didn't teach him, you know. I hope you got the point. That is why Saudi Aramco, what they are looking for, freedom from risk or harm, you know. Now, is it possible to do something 100% safely? Here I need your feedback, please. Any one of you, I'm going to unmute. Any one of you, please respond. Is it possible to do something 100% safely? What is your opinion?
No, sir. It's not possible.
Okay. So, excellent. So we got one comment. No. Any other, please? Any one of you? You can reply in the chat box also if you know how to use chat box. Yes or no, I can look into it and see your response. Okay, so Mr. Sayyid Sajjad, you know, he mentioned no, it's not possible. Okay, any other? Any other comment in the chat box, or you can speak up? I already unmuted your mic. Guys, the fact is, mostly we're gonna get the answer no. 100% safety is a big question mark. But still we have to pretend. Still we have to pretend 100% safety is possible. Just to make sure we have some positive vibes and energy to try for 100%. Even though we know it's not possible, but still we have to pretend, to grab that positive energy. Because otherwise, our brain game is a very tricky game. So if we, from the start, if we realize, oh, 100% safety is not possible. So what would happen? We will start ignoring several things because 100% safety is not possible. So let's try and play that game with our brain, and make him understand, look, Mr. Brain, 100% safety is possible. I'm trying. Allah is there. Kun fayakun, Let us try. Don't give us the negative energy. No, 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 it's not possible. Even the impossible word says, I'm possible. So what I mean is, let's try for 100% safety and leave everything in the hands of Allah, inshallah. With the blessings of Allah, several companies, they are still achieving 0% LTIs, 0 injuries, 0 accident, maybe millions of hours, Okay, so yes, what I'm going to do is, Mr. Mustafa, I'll prepare one video actually, to be very honest, and will upload on my channel. Let it be beneficial for everyone there. What I will do is, should you go in Saudi Arabia on Azad visa or by joining a company as a WPR? What are the benefits and challenges if you go on free or Azad visa, and what are the benefits or kind of concerns or the unhappy some points if you join a company as a WPR from your own country? Of course you will get less salary and it wouldn't be a much better approach, but if you are a good learner, the first 2 years you will not think about earnings, you will only think about learnings. So for your better learning, just move on and don't invest any money, because if you go on Azad visa, the visa price you have to pay, the ticket price, then staying there, having your ikama from the Saudi government, then also paying to the third party for 4 days for WPR training. They will also charge 1265, including we are also charging, including 15% VAT, and then if you are a free visa holder, of course via agent you are trying to get Saudi Aramco exam schedule, probably they will charge 14,000 real, 15,000 real. So it's a huge blend, blend of money. So I would not suggest to waste it. Much better approach is join a company, be trained, learn the environment, understand the Saudi market, and after 2 years you decide. You will be in a better position, to decide either to work as a WPR on Azad visa or still continue with the company with better salary. Maybe after 2 years you're gonna get from any contractor of Saudi Aramco. I hope it would have give you some energy, but still I'll upload one video, inshallah, maybe 30-35 minutes video, and I'll share each point in detail, inshallah. It will help maybe several. If you are fresher, there are millions of freshers. Let's try to help everyone, inshallah. Okay? Because you asked this question, and according to me, just go ahead, guys, because sometime an opportunity is an opportunity from Allah. So don't say no. If it is coming to you, if you run behind, then you have multiple options, then choose the best one for your career. Okay, guys, so 100% safety, no doubt, is a big question, especially think about the driving. You are the best driver, best car is there, but think about the other drivers, It's not easy to ensure your 100% safety. Then same way, flying an aircraft, every time, how are you going to ensure your safety? Same with the scuba diving and crossing the street, and most importantly, working in an oil and gas plant. So 100% safety still is a huge question mark, but at least we can try for 100%, inshallah. That is why it's a teamwork. It's a teamwork. Nobody can say, I'm not responsible for safety. If somebody says, bring him to me, No, that is why Saudi Aramco have prepared some programs and processes just to help to prevent us from injuries, illnesses. Especially Saudi Aramco has many programs, processes and procedures, standards in place just to protect you, actually protect us. So what you truly have to understand is incidents are always caused by either these unsafe acts, that somebody is doing something wrong or violating a safety regulation, or unsafe condition. Might be the equipment is not well maintained or missing safety guards, just an example. So all incidents or accidents are happening because of unsafe acts or unsafe conditions. Now, as a homework, no harm, go back to your companies or have some research and prepare list of unsafe acts within oil and gas industry or unsafe acts at your project site. Master list of unsafe acts, and any list you can prepare for unsafe conditions at your project site, within your company, or within oil and gas industry overall. And that would give you some researching hobby, to be very honest, and this will give you some comprehensive knowledge and understanding how things can go wrong and what are the kind of terminology they use in, and your understanding, your concept will be more stronger enough, inshallah. So consider like a homework, and make researching your hobby, like list of unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. These are some of the examples of unsafe act, like operating equipment without proper training or certification, like working as a WPR without third-party training, without Aramco approval, even though nobody would allow you, but still, if you got somehow, God forbid, the fake ID and you are on site, it's unsafe act, or removing or disabling, even is a legal violation. Removing or disabling safety devices, using defective equipment, taking shortcuts. One of the terrible words, shortcuts. And it's a human nature also to take shortcuts, to do things as quick as possible. Because Aramco evaluated why people love to take shortcuts. In next slide, maybe we'll discuss, inshallah, why people take shortcuts, And also failure to secure, like lockout, tagout, and fault protection, improper use of equipment, and unsafe conditions, inadequate guards or safety devices, unsafe walkways and working surfaces, damaged, defective, incorrect equipment, or extreme weather. These are some of the examples of unsafe conditions, actually. So any confusion to anyone, what is unsafe act or what is unsafe condition? Can you give any examples other than the examples and listed by Saudi Aramco? Any other example, anyone, please? You are open to talk. Yes, please. Any other examples of unsafe act or unsafe conditions? Because we already got the point. These are the two terrible foundations of incidents or accidents. If we can minimize unsafe acts, or we can improve or convert unsafe conditions into safer conditions, we can minimize the probability, or we can reduce the chances of incidents or accident. And maybe at some level for different processes, maybe 100% safety would be ensured, but sustainability, maintainability of this 100% still would be a greatest challenge. Guys, this training, I'm trying to give you one simple logic, that you have to clear your concepts. Don't try to memorize millions of words, you will get bored, you will get tired also, and you will get worried also. So better to clear your concepts. Once your concepts are clear, automatically, you know, your understanding will be sharpened enough, inshallah, as a safety professional. Okay. Okay, few more examples of unsafe acts. Safety hazards and unsafe acts includes like operating equipment without authority or certification, failure to warn, failure to secure, operating at improper speed, making safety device inoperable, or maybe removing safety devices. So few more examples of unsafe acts are there. Using defective equipment and poor maintenance, using equipment improperly. That is why Saudi Aramco knows, they already evaluated, there are plenty of unsafe acts and conditions and not being taken care or taken seriously from different contractors or employees, direct or indirect. That is why they created LP policy, we call it loss prevention policy. Because they don't want to see any unsafe act or condition which can create losses for Saudi Aramco. That is why they have a straightforward policy, and I call it the law, the Saudi Aramco law, you know, loss prevention policy. And what that policy is talking about, you are responsible to know your responsibilities. You are the one going to identify and eliminate hazards prior to starting a job. You are the one requesting and taking safety courses. It's not like always expecting from the management that they should send you for training. If you are lacking some knowledge, you can go back as per your job description. You can request your management that you need some technical training for that particular subject, and nothing wrong to it, rather than hiding or fighting within yourself, because this is part of loss prevention policy of Saudi Aramco. Now, follow safety procedures. Follow all safety procedures, standards, and rules. Now, there are thousands and thousands safety standards, rules, and procedures as per Saudi Aramco GIs. Sometimes people are reluctant to follow the over documentation. That's I personally noted, especially as an auditor. Different contractors. Even there was a huge fight. One of the mega contractor of Saudi Aramco, they debated, with Saudi Aramco officials that our system is much comprehensive than you. Then why should we follow your standards? Simply get the services, get the oil drilled up, get the required services, and pay us, because our standards are more comprehensive than yours. So even though I mentioned that contractor, please, you do one thing, incorporate Saudi Aramco standards within your procedures and let them approve, and don't go for this war, don't go for this fight, because Saudi Aramco, how come you can fight with them? You are just one contractor out of their thousand contractors, you are only one contractor. So don't try to dominate Saudi Aramco. So better to, okay, your standards are good enough. So you just incorporate your standards within their procedures, or their procedures within your standards, and just have win-win situation, rather than going for fight. So luckily they accepted and they achieve, and still getting a lot of projects from Saudi Aramco. But if they go for the war, go for the fight, surely Saudi Aramco would have eliminated them even from Saudi Arabia. So follow all safety procedures, standards, and rules, because no compromise. Be prepared to respond to emergencies. This is our responsibility to be ready to respond in case of any emergencies. Report incidents to help others avoid them in the future. And this reporting works. I mean, even you as a WPR would have noticed people, they don't report. They don't want to report, they love to hide. They love to hide small injuries. They have maybe bandages in their pocket, any small cut on their finger, they'll wrap up, wear the gloves, chapter closed. They'll not let anybody to be familiar and take some actions, which was the sharp edge, how you're going to correct it. So no one else would face that sharp edge and having cut on their finger, I hope you got the point. What I mean is convincing our employees to report is another challenge, but still no excuse. We have to try 100% inshallah to convince them and make sure they report on time. And these are some of these safety hazards, like knocking on a wall with a wrench to open it is an example of unsafe act. Performing a job without required certification or not having a required work permit is also an unsafe act. Taking shortcuts, trying to accomplish work in a hurry or try to save time is an unsafe act. And not following rules and procedures is the #1 cause of incidents in Saudi Aramco. #1. Now, why people love to take shortcuts, as per Saudi Aramco analysis, what they have mentioned is a human nature. It's a human nature to want to complete a task as quickly as possible. The demands of the job or the organization causing employees to act unsafely, and the employee try to impress the boss with their level of production. Sometimes I say, if you are honest with your job, you are competent enough, and you are doing your job, you are giving your 100%, then why unnecessarily you want to impress and keep happy to your boss? Why it is more important for you to keep your boss all the time happy? Why you need to pamper up your boss? Let him be happy that you are an honest employee, you are doing your job brilliantly. Let him be happy by himself, rather than you are trying to impress. And yes, you will try to impress. If you're not a good employee, if you're not a competent employee, you're lacking some knowledge, you're not honest enough, or you have some tricky games to get some better salary package, or I hope you got the point. But still it's unethical. The manager, your immediate boss, should be happy by himself because of your honesty, because of your operational excellence, the way you are managing your processes or your department or your job, mashallah, as per the job description. But anyhow, it's a human nature. They are in rush to get the job done. Now, should you use safety checklists? Absolutely. But the point is, if you are in a rush, are you getting through and stopping and evaluating each item properly? And what is happening as per Saudi Aramco analysis? Your eye and hands are checking off the boxes on the checklist, but your brain is not engaged, not focused. Even right now we have a training session, but mentally where you are, even I don't know, to be very honest. Either you are with me or you are playing some other games. I hope you got the point. So the hand and eye are checking of the boxes on the checklist, but brain is not engaged or focused on the task. So checklists are not foolproof. They may not have checkbox for every possible variation or situation or fall for all safety hazard. Checklists and procedures can only work if you are following them properly and completed properly with all your attention, all your focus. Then it can give some benefit. Otherwise, just ticking and So look at the result. Poor hazard identification and control resulting in what? Look at the number. These are the non-fatal and 4,000 fatal workplace injuries. The direct cost of injuries at work, $250 billion in shape of compensation claims. Medical cost, $250 billion annually That's what Saudi Aramco is claiming. And if they could have saved that much money, maybe they can launch several other companies, projects, more employment, more Saudization, and more foreigners they'll be looking for. And just because of poor hazard identification and control. Now, there are two barriers, even though incidents are avoidable, but there are two barriers. And the number one barrier is equipment, because there are equipment, several equipments everywhere. We are occupied with machines or equipment. Even though in Saudi Aramco, they have better management to the equipments because they have fixed gas detectors, emergency shutdown valves, emergency alerts, sensors, helmets, harnesses, and much more. Plenty of equipments are available to keep us safe. But the other barrier is human. That means you. And humans, you truly have to bear in mind, because ultimately there is a third-party exam. The moment you will register properly and go for the exam, surely you need to bear in mind if that question could be there, like humans are the dash of defense in dash and the last line of defense during dash. No, 3 dashes are there. And maybe they mention 3 options, along with that, all of the above. So you have to remember some of the information. It's need of the time, because ultimately you need to pass Saudi third-party exam with 80% marks. So some of the key points I would surely try to highlight, and maybe it will help you, inshallah, even though there are plenty of information and question and answers I shared at my YouTube channel also. All 3 books, plenty of question and answers are there. But still, let me highlight some of the key information, like humans are the front line of defense in normal operations and the last line of defense during non-normal operations. If operation is high hazardous, not easy, more technical, more chances of accident are there, we can't rely on human. That is why artificial intelligence, robotic technology, plenty of latest technologies are being incorporated and making sure no humans are involved in high hazardous processes, And why robotic technology or artificial intelligence is taking in place? Because nobody want to see anyone to be died or killed at their side, That is why Saudi Aramco, in their 2030 vision, they are bringing a lot of technology, and buying a lot. So this exercise, there is exercise, some question and answers. I'll share some links in the group, so you can find question and answers, in that video, inshallah. So I don't need to speak up about question and answers. Now, how to recognize and control hazards? Second part. In this part, we are going to learn categories of hazards. Only 2 categories are mentioned by Saudi Aramco: safety hazards and health hazards. And how are we going to recognize? What are the methods we are going to learn? And also how to control them. But bear in mind, the purpose of hazard recognition is to find hazards and put in place controls and precautions to eliminate or reduce the hazards to an acceptable level before they cause an incident. And that is the ultimate purpose, to understand hazards, to recognize them, be competent as a hazard recognizer, and then be competent and technically sound to put effective controls, against those hazards, to eliminate or to reduce, or to bring them at acceptable level. Now, common causes of incidents in Saudi Aramco, some of they mentioned already. And one of the major they mentioned, not following safety rules and regulations. Now, in the types of hazards, 2 types of hazards are there, like safety hazards and health hazards. And I repeat again, safety doesn't mean anything which directly have adverse effect on your safety is a safety hazard, and any hazard which have adverse effect on your health is a health hazard. Same like, Aramco have given example, like safety hazard is anything that can have adverse impact on your safety, and health hazard, anything that can have adverse impact on your health. Now, how are you going to recognize and control hazards? There are some methods like joint site inspection, JSI. The examiner can ask this question, what are the methods to identify the hazards as per Saudi Aramco, especially mentioned for WPP or work permit process like joint site inspection. And sometimes they can ask JSI stands for what? WPS stand for what? Work permit system and forms, hazard analysis checklist. So 3 important methods Saudi Aramco have mentioned: JSI, work permit system and forms, and hazard analysis checklist. So it's a teamwork. It's not like individually only Saudi Aramco will do JSI or joint site inspection, they will do individually. No. You, the contractor, along with the WPR, have to go for the JSI or joint site inspection, and then work permit system and hazard analysis checklist. Now make sure, whenever you have activities in construction, maintenance, and inspection, you have to do JSI and even repair, and make sure you completely fill the forms like work permit forms. We discussed already what kind of changes are there and how you're going to make sure every tick box have a reason, genuine reason to tick rather than a fake tick. And also in the permit form, you must identify and control hazards in the following section. There are different sections, but section 2 is all about hazard identification and control. And under section 2, there are subsections like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, K, L. So each section, each checkbox, before you tick, make sure it's a genuine tick. And there is another hazard analysis checklist also. Now they are part of new forms. We already discussed and shared. Now, what is the control measure actually? So as per Saudi Aramco, there are 3 stages of control. Like you want to control any sort of hazard. The number 1 is engineering. The next one is administrative. And the third one is the PPs. But under engineering, they are talking about 2 more steps, like either you eliminate, change solvent paints to water-based, like solvent-based paint is available, but it's highly toxic or flammable, extremely flammable. But alternative is also available in the market, like water-based paint is there. So you eliminate solvent-based paint and start using water-based paint. So that's called elimination, but comes under engineering solutions. Otherwise, they're talking about isolation, like noise exclusion, LOTO, or blinding, lockout, tagger, and blinding. Now, administrative, reduce, rotate crew using warnings, rules, policies, procedures, protective equipment, PPs, RP like respiratory protective equipment like SCBA and SABA. SCBA, any one of you is familiar? What is the abbreviation of SCBA? Any one of you, please? Any one of you, please unmute and speak up if you know the answer. SCBA stands for what?
Self-containing breathing apparatus.
Excellent, mashallah. And SABA? SABA stands for what?
Supply air breathing
apparatus. Excellent, mashallah. And are you familiar with EBA? EEBA? What it stand for? EEBA, which is not mentioned by Saudi Aramco here. EEBA. EBA. Emergency escape breathing apparatus. Okay.
Okay.
And there is another one, we call it advanced breathing. You know, let's not go. It's a very detailed subject here. But anyhow, as per Saudi Aramco, what they want is RP, respiratory protective equipment, such as SCUBA, and SCUBA must be used wherever oxygen level is below 20%, as per Saudi Aramco. As per OSHA, 19.5%. But we are talking about Aramco standards. So as per Saudi Aramco, below 20%, we have to use SCUBA. Above 10%, 10 ppm of H2S, we need SCUBA. Above 5% LEL, whenever there is a cold work, because above 0% LEL, no hot work, only cold work. But above 5% LEL or 5 to 10% LEL is there, we need SCUBA. Okay, and above 35 ppm or 35 to 1000 ppm of carbon monoxide, we need SCUBA. Below 35, below 20%, below 10 ppm of H2S, below 5% of LEL, we are allowed to work for 8 hours without SCUBA. But again, it depends on Saudi Aramco to agree with all those conditions, you know. We will discuss in detail in CSC, Confined Space Entry, the second book. But why we need SCUBA and SABA? I mentioned you, wherever we have toxic situations or the hazardous environment, of course, or toxic environment, we need to use SCUBA or SABA. So that was the second part. The third part of this book is all about common workplace hazards. The common workplace hazards, you know, they basically divided these common workplace hazards in 8 parts. I will just give you some insights about it directly without going through slide by slide. Otherwise, we need 4 days. But what I'm going to do is, at least I will give you some understanding, you know, what is common workplace hazards and what controls we required, what is working at height, what can go wrong in heavy equipments or excavation or hazardous material or H2S or fire and explosion or emergency preparedness. But 8 parts are there. So common workplace hazards. Any one of you can give any example of common workplace hazards? Any one of you, please? Even though, as per Saudi Aramco, I'm asking, you know, like slip, strips, and fall. Can we say it's a common workplace hazard? Slip, strips, and fall. So if common workplace hazards are there, like slip, strips, and fall, like they mentioned, you know, look at the picture. Imagine if anti-slippery shoes are not there. Imagine if design of the ladder is not there. If angle of the ladder is not good enough. Imagine if you know, oil spillage is there on the steps. Imagine the design, the steps size is not good enough. Imagine if a person is not you know, using the handrails. So more chances of slip, slips, and fall, right? And fall is the #1 cause of fatalities globally. Now, how are we going to control them actually? How are we going to make sure even in somebody slips? First of all, prevention is better than cure. We should have a system that nobody is going to slip or trip or fall, you know. If someone is working above their 1.8 meter or 6 feet, how are we going to make sure the better fall prevention system, you know? And if someone is working on scaffolding, how are we going to prevent him or anyone to be falling from height, What is the purpose of toe board or, different structural approach? That is why we have certified scaffolding supervisor, inspector, certified erectors and dismantlers, That means qualified team. And why wind speed is important to make sure, the scaffolding is not going to collapse. If we are using man basket, how are we going to make sure nobody is falling from there? So overall, common workplace hazards, there shouldn't be any uneven floor surfaces or unsuitable floor coverings or wet floors or trailing cables, and make sure the controls like handrails properly being used. You have to report hazards immediately, wear correct footwear, good housekeeping is important. Tools and equipment, that's another common workplace hazards. Any defective tool is a hazard. Electrocution, electrical shock, burns, cuts, bruises, or abrasion hazards. Flying objects, all comes under tools and equipment. So what controls we required? Because each hazard, on the other side, we required the controls as per Saudi Aramco guidelines, or maybe as per some other international standards which we can claim are much better than Saudi Aramco. That's our choice, which standards we are going to benchmark, but make sure the effective controls are there. And the number one control is immediately report defective tools and equipment to your supervisor. Homemade tools as per Saudi Aramco are prohibited. Correct tools and equipment, if we have to use, inspect tools and equipment before use. These are some of the controls. Noise and vibration, above 85 decibel is a hazard. Nerve damage because of vibration. Could be white fingers because of vibration, and also controls we required. Ear muff, ear plug. Replace equipment or process with quicker ones. Limit employee exposure, make some administrative rules and regulations, periodic breaks. Don't let anyone work in noisy area continuously, Warning signs, PPs. So we are talking about common workplace hazards. Machine, the guards. What hazards? Entanglement, could be cuts, abrasions, amputations, hot surfaces, cold surfaces. Parts of machinery could be ejected, striking to workers even, or impact with plant and equipment, fin fan blade failure. So what controls you require? This is important technical point, and you have to remember moving parts to be guarded if less than 2.5 or 8.2 feet above the working surface. And mostly training centers, the examiners, mostly they will ask this question, So make sure you remember that important technical point. Moving parts to be guarded if less than 2.5 or 8.2 feet above the working surface is there. Examples could be flywheels, belt chain drives. Guards shall be installed before arrival on site, in position during operation, reinstalled before the equipment is returned to service. No, lockout, tag out. What is the hazard? Any energy could be released up, could be chemicals, mechanical, electrical, hydraulic, pneumatic, or spring loaded, gravity. So any sort of energy, unexpected release or uncontrolled energy, if proper lockout, tag out or isolation procedure is not followed, of course, this accidental startup or releasing of these kind of energies, sudden release of these energies definitely would be a killing point, And sometimes I say it's hard to get second chance if you're working in a confined space, especially. No, this is just an example. Look at the control. Before opening closed systems or lines shall be what? Depressurized. This is same line, but two consecutive walls are there. We call it double block and bleed. There is single block wall as well, but this is double block and bleed. Like on the same line, two consecutive walls and one A bleed valve open, like just to release the pressure. So depressurize, drained it up, purging. For purging, we use nitrogen. Again, you have to remember, for purging process, we use nitrogen. We will discuss in detail in the third book, like as per GI 6.012, isolation lockout and use of hole tags. So these are some technical discussions, but still I'm trying to support, the concept. Like this is just an example on the same line, two consecutive walls and one bleed wall is there. So we can depressurize, drain, and also we required purging. And why do we need purging? Why do we use nitrogen? You can get some time and research and learn more, Otherwise, we will put a lot of time here actually. And confined space, a lot of hazards are there. Could be oxygen deficiency, like less than 20%. Oxygen enrichment, maybe more than 23.5%. Flammable materials, toxic materials could be H2S, carbon monoxide, extreme temperature. I can prepare list of hazards of confined space, maybe more than 50 different hazards. But here, the most prominent and the terrible one, Saudi Aramco have mentioned, which we truly have to consider seriously. Now, what are the controls? Make sure you have proper permit, CSC permit, number one. Proper preparation checklist should be there, proper isolation, gas testing, mechanical ventilation. Okay, so some of the controls, gas testing, when to do gas testing, who will be doing gas testing? Are we going to do gas testing before signing the permit? Are we going to do gas testing before first entry? What about after the breaks? What about after every 2 hours as per Saudi Aramco regulations? Are we going to do continual gas testing as per the nature of our project? Or how are we going to rely on mechanical ventilation? Now, pressure testing, a common process in Saudi Aramco, especially in high hazardous industries. What are the hazards? Could be mechanical or operator failure, relief system failure, or uncontrolled release of pressure testing material, treated water, inert gas. So how are we going to control them? Use the correct what? Test material, test equipment, notify others with barriers and signage. So it's a game of communication. Let everybody be familiar. This is a line of fire. So nobody should dare to cross it up, and stay out of line of fire. And if you want to learn further, this is GI 2.102, pressure testing safely. So it's not like only to learn about 3 books. It's an ocean. It's up to you how much you want to learn. There are thousand and thousand GIs, a lot of knowledge, related to oil and gas industry, especially we have with Saudi Aramco. It is up to us how much we want to learn and apply also. Weather conditions, what are the hazards? We are talking about common workplace hazards. And this is another common workplace hazards like weather conditions. So we have high wind speeds, extreme temperatures, high humidity. I'm giving you an insight. Please find out heat stress plan of Saudi Aramco and understand what that table is all about. Why above 52, only 20 minutes work and 10 minutes break? Why this 39 to 51 is danger zone and what can go wrong? And why only 30 minutes work and 10 minutes break? So I'm giving you some further researching hobby, so make sure you find out Saudi Aramco heat stress plan and understand why that plan need to be followed. Excavation collapse is another hazard and also flooding. So what are the controls? These are important points. Maybe the examiner can ask in the exam also. What is the wind speed limit of crane? 32 km per hour. Man basket, 25 km per hour. Scaffolding, 65. And prevent entry into flooded excavations. And remove water prior to entry. No, you know, with these three important information like crane maximum 32, man basket 25, scaffolding 65, he can prepare three different questions by giving, you know, one right option and three different wrong options. And maybe the fourth one he can mix. Maybe crane 25, man basket 32, scaffolding 65. He can mix. What I mean is, for an examiner, it's quite easy to prepare some tricky questions and confuse your brain, you know. So that is why some important informations we truly have to memorize, and on the other side, our concepts must be clear. You know, the PPs, if you don't wear, it's a hazard. Metal helmets not allowed. Damaged helmets not allowed. It's a hazard. Helmets with peak at the back, expiry date. What are the controls? Approved helmets, no defects. Metal helmets are prohibited. Make sure internal harness is installed correctly. So I'm not going to put more time here, but just, you know, read one by one. I'm just going through each line. Take your time and read. If there is any confusion, you can ask. Otherwise, it's quite simple. No toe protection. You know, this steel toe, it shouldn't be missed actually. There is a steel toe. No sandals. Okay, so make sure only approved safety footwear. Eye protection, hazards are there. If you don't wear, it's a hazard. Prescription lenses, not acceptable, is a hazard. Only approved eye wear. Why we need them? To avoid, you know, flying objects. What we require? Goggles and face shield. Otherwise, we can check CHB, chemical hazard bulletin, you know, for material specific protection actually. FRC, we call it flame resistant clothing or fire resistant clothing, how it looks like. And what are the hazards if you don't wear properly? Fire, welding sparks, electrical arc flash, hot or cold surfaces. And what are the controls? Fire prevention, FRC worn correctly or washed and cleaned correctly. And if you want to learn further about arc flash mitigation PPs, then GI 2.721 is all about relevant to arc flash mitigation PPs, personal protective equipment. You know, hearing protection above than 85, but it could also, if you don't wear properly, sometime I noted as an auditor, instead of wearing inside, they are wearing outside, just to show up that earplug is there. And what is the control? Wear protection above 85 decibel. Otherwise, check with EPD, Environmental Protection Division, for correct type, noise reduction provided, and also audiometry test. No harm to have audiometry test of our employees at least annually and check how many are became deaf at what percentage by working within our company operations, at our project sites and noisy areas. And this audiometry test, you know, imagine if somebody became deaf because of your company operations, because of highly noisy areas, you know, working 8 hours every day, and you didn't give the right set of PPs. And now this gentleman became deaf. And now he filed a case legally against your company. And imagine if he won the case. And how much in compensation you have to pay back. And what about your reputation, you know? But in Middle East, mostly employees, they're not familiar about their rights. And that is why the business community, they are enjoying, you know. And sometimes intentionally, they don't want to teach, they don't want to educate their employees. They want to keep them illiterate. So they'll not ask anything about their rights, you know. No, gloves. Not wearing is a hazard. Incorrect glove for the job. Otherwise, injuries could happen, cuts, bruises, burns, infections. So what controls we require? Wear hand protection suitable to your job. Check CHB, Chemical Hazard Bulletin. And I'm requesting to all of you, the moment you will be joining Saudi Aramco projects as a WPR, or you are already working, find out the CHB of every chemical being used at your site. If your safety manager is not giving, go to the Saudi Aramco company man, talk to him and tell him we need CHB of all the chemicals, and see how much comprehensive document it is, and you can display, you can teach, you can train yourself also. If you have 100 different chemicals, 100 different CHBs would be a greatest help, and you can consider yourself as a chemical engineer maybe, if you can learn properly about 100 different chemicals of your company. Replace gloves if worn, damaged, or contaminated. Okay, guys. Now we have RPE, respiratory protection equipment. Like, what are the hazards? Inhalation because of dust. Look at this gentleman. Toxic gases could be H2S, carbon monoxide, asbestos fibers, a source of lung cancer. Incorrect equipment selection, poor face seal, or maybe protection features exceeded. So look at, we need SCUBA, respiratory protective equipment. Gas sampling is also required. Right set of RP like respiratory protective equipment. If unsure, check with EPD, Environmental Protection Division. Follow good hygiene practices. Ensure RP is clean. Look at, this is called SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus. If your job is for 15, 20, 30 minutes, you can rely on SCUBA, but if you want to work a little longer, then supplied air breathing apparatus is much better. You must be familiar about a T40 Rattler, the personal H2S monitor, especially when you are going to work in confined spaces or hazardous areas, or restricted areas, in other words. And as I mentioned, the question and answers, I will share some links and you can find out all the exercises along with their questions and answers, inshallah. And still any confusion, we have WhatsApp group. We can learn from each other anytime, inshallah. So working at height, quite straightforward. We have working at height hazards, maybe unauthorized use, uncertified operators, tipping over, structural collapse could happen, mechanical failure, fall from height. What controls is required? Make sure you have certified operators. Inspection before use only at even surfaces, not on uneven surfaces. And make sure you are inside all the time. Harness is worn and attached to the anchor point. Ladder. And for the ladder, let me get you all in. What do you think? What are the hazards here? Look at the ladder, please. Do you think any hazard is there or all is well?
Slipping hazard.
Okay. Because footing is not secured, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Even the type of ladder is not correct. The height of ladder is not correct. Even the angle of the ladder could also be challenged because 75 degree required.
Yes, sir.
So wrong use, wrong type, and even ladder looks in poor condition. Fall from height is a hazard. Incorrect word, size, type, use. So what controls you require? Secure footing, 3 point of contact,
Yes.
1 meter above the top surface. Okay, 4:1 ratio. That means 75 angle. And while you are climbing up, don't look here and there, and don't climb up here actually in this area at the top of ladder. Is just to keep the balance and not falling. And also footing must be secure. The steps, no step should be broken. And also inspect before use. Secure the top, provide stable and secure footing. Slope ratio 4:1, that means 75-degree angle. Face ladder while climbing. And also 3 points of contact when working from ladder. Never work of the top step of ladder, step ladders, Scaffolding, interesting subject, but even I'm thinking, to plan some free sessions for, because this is the alarming issue in Saudi Aramco. A lot of incidents are still happening because of scaffolding, and they're looking for a lot of scaffolding inspectors, supervisors, erectors, So only two hazards: falling and collapse. Fall, collapse. Falling mean could be objects, equipment, or people. Or collapse. No, the question is, just as a general discussion, falling is understandable. What do you think? What are the reasons of collapse as per your understanding? If scaffolding is there, well erected by competent people, then why it's collapsed? What are the reasons behind? Whatever is coming in your mind, just speak up, please. Otherwise, I'll be speaking, and you'll be sleeping by the way. Scaffolding collapse. What are the reasons? Yes, guys. Any one of you, what are the reasons of scaffold collapse? Sometimes, yes, please. Go ahead.
Speed.
Wind speed, yes, Mr. Sajjad. Excellent, mashallah. Wind speed. And above than 65 kilometer, it's more dangerous for sure, that's why. And also sometimes material conditions, sometimes the angle of the scaffolding, 90 degrees not ensured. Sometimes plenty of overloaded is designed for 500 kg and you are taking 1000 kg above. Sometime near to excavated areas and it's collapsed because the soil was not good enough. Several reasons. But what are the controls? First of all, make sure we have safe means of entry and exit, especially at the gates and drop bars. Fall protection, safety lines, harnesses, nets, tools and equipment secured. That is why we have tow board and the tool belts as well. Regular inspection is critically important. The use of tags like red tag, yellow and green, valid inspection date, and 2 weeks maximum between inspections. Valid inspection date, 2 weeks maximum between inspection. Important point. Maybe the examiner can ask, what is the validity of scaffolding inspection tag? So 2 weeks maximum. As per GI 8.001, safety requirements for scaffolds. If any one of you want to be a scaffolding supervisor or scaffolding inspector, Aramco approved, your focus should be GI 8.001. Learn deeply, technically, logically, have some clear theoretical and practical understanding, and then go for approval, go for Aramco approval, inshallah, and enjoy the bright future. Now, what are the scaffolding basic checks? Look at the scaffolding. Make sure the material is in good condition. Scaffolding looks like straight, not leaning, no evidence of collision damage, no gaps in the planks. But bear in mind, if that gaps in the planks is unavoidable, it shouldn't be above than 1 inch. I repeat again, if the gap is unavoidable between the planks, then it shouldn't be more than 1 inch as per Saudi Aramco. Toe boards fitted, but minimum height of the toe board should be 4 inches. Please remember, minimum height of the toe board as per Saudi Aramco is 4 inches. So materials or tools stored close to the open edges shouldn't be there. Ladder must be in good condition, no damage, no missing parts, correct length, safe means for getting on and off. And guys, this is drop bar. Missing drop bar, that means the scaffolding is not completed or not safe. Safe means for getting on and off the ladder like gate and drop bar. Post standards on level surface on sill boards. This is called sill boards, and this is called post or standards. Okay, and we have base plates. We have ledges and runners, bearers outside, couplers. We have planks. So it's up to you how much you want to learn about scaffolding. There are 3 colors of tags, like red tag, do not use scaffold. Yellow tag means full body harness required. And green tag means scaffold complete, no harness required. But as a safety trainer, I always mention, even if it's a green tag, no harm to use harness, because green tag, no doubt, is giving guarantee that the scaffolding is erected with 100% in line with safety standards, but still it doesn't guarantee that you will not fall down. So no harm to use full body harness. Tag and hold numbers must be matched up. It shouldn't be reused. Make sure it is fixed through the structured part, so visible, signed by above 1.8 meter by the supervisor, up to 6 meter, but above than 6 meter, scaffolding inspector. Again, important informations, and here they can, as a work permit examiner, maybe any training center, they can create this question, and mostly they ask, who is responsible for scaffolding inspection below 6 meter? And then they give the options, and you have to choose the right option. Scaffolding supervisor above 1.8 meter to 6 meter, and above than 6 meters, scaffolding inspector is responsible. And what is the validity of inspection? Is for 2 weeks. Fall protection, look at, sometimes I say you have full body harness, but no anchor point. And sometimes you have anchor point, but it can't bear your weight. Like it should be 5,000 pounds, the strength, the lifting capacity. So it's not formality that I have a full body harness on my body, but no benefit. So failure to wear is a hazard. Failure to scare to a fixed point is another hazard. Poor quality equipment, damaged harness. So what is the control? Make sure you are well trained, how to use it, how to fit, inspect before each use, protect from sharp edges, remove damaged equipment. Waist belts are prohibited, guys. Waist belts are prohibited. And this is another important point. Shock observing lanyards secure at least 18 feet above surface. Shock observing lanyard. This is called lanyard, and this is full body harness. Lanyard, shock observing, and it's required to fit above 18 feet from surface. So what is the logic behind? So the person, even it's the shock observing is pulled down, even it will reduce gravitational forces and not directly hit to the ground, and also less jerking to the body. So we required this full body harness along with shock observing lanyard. Okay, so the person should not hit to the ground also. That is why 18 feet above surface. 18 feet above surface, the anchor point. Okay, guys, so we have heavy equipment. For the exercise, I'm telling you, I'll share the links and you can go with question and answers. And still, if there would be any confusion, we have WhatsApp group, create a question. So any one of us will be giving the right answer, inshallah. Heavy equipment, there are hazards, of course, run over by heavy vehicle or maybe struck by or crushed by material being moved, crushed, caught between equipment and object, electrocution by contact with overhead power lines, buried cables. Controls, make sure well inspection is there, certified operator, safe distance, and eye contact with operator is critically important. Exclusion zones must be highlighted. Spotter or signal man, wear high visibility clothing. So we are talking about hazards and controls. Used by uncertified operator is a hazard. Loads rigged incorrectly resulting in drop objects. Some people, they have fake IDs also. Authorizations for high risk activities, examples could be man basket, tandem lifts, critical lifts. But critical lift plan must be approved and prepared by Saudi Aramco certified rigger level 1. And if you want to be a rigger level 1, 2, 3, this is the GI, you must be study again and again. GI 7.025, certification of equipment, operators and riggers. GI 7.025, certification of equipment, operators and riggers. What are the hazards related to crane? Failure of rigging, ropes and slings. If there is any vocabulary word like what is rigging, what is slinging, no harm to have some again researching hobby. Contact with overhead power lines, toppling over. What is toppling over? Contact with people and equipment, overloading. And what controls is required? Inspection by operator. Any of the Saudi Aramco WPR trainer, he can't train anything else. He can't teach anything else other than Saudi Aramco presentations or kind of guidelines or safety standards. That's why we are bound to go slide by slide sometime to make sure you understand each word and you go through, even though the words are again same, hazards and controls, but area wise they have divided in different categories. Now, like we are talking about cranes, and now we are talking about after hazards of cranes, we are learning about controls of cranes. Now, crane hazards, inspection by operator, barriers and signage, valid inspection sticker, certified crane operators, critical lift plans. Now, critical lift plans, this is the most important slide, and mostly examiner, they ask question from this slide. Any part of a crane whose boom is within dash of any hydrocarbon piping, pressurized piping, populated area, crane lift that requires attachment to main boom, we required critical lift plan. Loads of 40 tons or greater, we required critical lift plan. Load that exceed 85% of the crane's rated capacity, there is a capacity, of course. So above then, if loads exceed 85% capacity, then surely we need critical lift plan or any crane lift near to hazardous areas like explosion, fire, high heat, any crane working near energized power lines, we need critical lift plan. And who is the approving authority of critical lift plans? Saudi Aramco certified rigor level 1. No, the forklifts, we are talking about heavy equipment. So unauthorized use, uncertified operators, rollover, impact with personal equipment, drop objects. What controls we required? Make sure you have trained and certified operators, daily inspection checklist, no standing or riding on forks, no walking under the raised forks or loads, backup warnings, seat belts and safety devices operational. So for exercises, I'm repeating again question and answers. I'll share some links and you can learn same question and answers as per the exercises even, and some additional as well. Now we have another module, excavation and sharing. Look at the picture. One picture is more louder than 1,000 words. No shoring, no benching, no shielding, no protection. Side walls can collapse. And the person could be in trouble, right? So these are the hazards: oxygen deficiency, toxic gas, flammable gas, striking underground cables or pipes, flooding. So what controls we require? Make sure whenever there is more than 1.2 meter, the excavation deeper than 1.2 meter or 4 feet, we required CSC permit. And here we required proper planning and design. Barriers and warning signs, exclusion zones, and heavy equipment, you need to cap 2 meter or 6.5 feet away from the edge of the excavation or depth of the excavation, like minimum 2 meter or 6.5 feet. Otherwise, you will go as per the depth of the excavation. Like if excavated area is, the depth is 10 feet, you keep 10 feet away. If it is 20 feet, 20 feet away. I hope you got the point. So depth is another criteria. And only excavating or backfilling equipment are permitted within 2 meters of the edge of the excavation. What controls you require? Make sure you have checklist to be used for excavation, like pre-excavation checklist. Mostly examiner, they create one question from here, which checklist are being used for excavation, and they give one option or maybe all 3 options and then say all of the above. Pre-excavation checklist, excavation inspection checklist, attach checklist to the permit. What is shoring? Look at the shoring and make sure you remember this technical point. Spoil pile, you need to keep away minimum 2 feet or 60 centimeter or 0.6 meter, 60 centimeter or 2 feet, or we call it 0.6 meter. The purpose is this soil should not go back into the excavated area, right? There must be a qualified person to know about the soil types. There are different soil types like soil type A, B, C. Soil type C is basically the least stable, the weakest one in the world, the top, because in Saudi Arabia it's almost a desert, right? But the soil type B, it is a little bit stronger than C, and A is more stronger than B and C, and stable rock is natural solid mineral material. But make sure a qualified person is there who knows how to design the excavation and also determine the appropriate soil type. And sloping on benching more than 6 meters or 20 feet must be designed by a qualified engineer. Here again, examiner can create a question. Sloping or benching more than dash must be designed by a qualified whatsoever. He can create a question. But bear in mind and remember this important point. Sloping or benching more than 6 meters, 20 feet designed by a qualified engineer. Buried cable, again, we all know is a hazard, like digging up live cables, jackhammers we use, and digging around live cables, all are hazards. What controls you require? Make sure we mark, identify and mark cables and surfaces before digging. Sometimes you don't get drawings from Saudi Aramco, but still no excuses. So we have to use cable detectors or locating devices or safe hand digging. Otherwise, cable drawings and plans would be a much better approach. So this is exercise F. Again, I'll share the link. Next module is hazardous material, the dangerous, like chemicals, and chemical could be in shape of solid, gas, or even liquid. And they are toxic, flammable, reactive, and chemical burns. These are the hazards. Could be irritant as well, corrosive, not only for the human beings, even for the metals. They can kill the metals as well. That is why we required CHB, Chemical Hazard Bulletin, to understand what are the health hazards, what is the flammability level, reactivity. These colors in CHB, this blue color presenting health hazards, red color presenting flammability level, reactivity is presenting, yellow color is presenting reactivity, and these numbers are also talking to us. Like 3 number, imagine if it is 4, so extremely hazardous to our health. Hydrochloric acid, if we get number 4 here, that means extremely hazardous to our health. And if we get number 4 in flammability, that means extremely flammable. So if we are having 0, that means it is non-flammable. And same way the reactivity and the PPs as well. That is why I told you get the CHB of every chemical you are using at your site. And chemicals could be invisible as well. Could be some toxic gases. If you want to learn about chemicals, start getting CHB from Saudi Aramco or find out online SDS or MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet. And it's also helped to HAZCOM label, eliminate or substitute correct storage or correct PPs. These are some of the controls. Or spill containment equipment. We're gonna make sure not a single drop of liquid is falling down, Spill containment equipment. Compressed gas cylinders, I call them tickling bombs, because the smallest mistake is all over. And sometimes flashback arrested is not functioning, or we don't give importance to flashback arrested, or sometimes under overheat temperature or under sunlight, plenty of hazards are there. Sometimes maybe full and empty stored together. And lack of separation for incompatible materials. And explosion and projectile, Transportation. No, look at the picture. How are we going to control them? Make sure stored in upright position. Empty and full filled cylinder, are not stored together. Separate place for each type. Settling cylinders are separate from oxidizers and others. And through CHB, we can identify the contents, store out of direct sunlight. separate incompatible materials, and separate full and empty cylinders. What other controls you required? Stored in upright position, secured during transportation, flashback arrestor for oxygen and acetylene cylinders. Now, any one of you have understanding what is flashback arrestor? What is the benefit of flashback arrestor? Any one of you, please. Flashback arrestor. What is the function of flashback arrestor? Okay, guys, make sure you again get some videos about flashback arrestor, how it functions, what can go wrong if it is not functioning. So again, some researching hobby you need, Good housekeeping. Asbestos containing material, we call them ACM as well. Look at the picture. And asbestos, bear in mind, once gone into the lungs, they'll penetrate gradually, but it's hard to bring them out, and ultimately a source of lung cancer or maybe asthma. It's airborne fibers, dangerous to lungs, no short-term health symptoms, long-term permanent health effects. What controls you require? Make sure we have clearly identified and warning signs posted. We use wet methods for removal. Eating, drinking, and smoking prohibited when working with ACM. What controls we required? PPs and RP to be used for ACM work. Dry cleanup methods prohibited, such as sweeping or shoveling. And if you want to learn more about asbestos waste, then GI 150.001, how to manage and control asbestos waste, would be a great help for further learning. Painting and coating, we all know what are the hazards. Oxygen deficiency, atmosphere could be flammable. Long-term permanent ill health effects and story, poor housekeeping. What controls you require? Trained operator. CHB and MSDS we need. Proper PPs like personal protective equipment. And make sure containers closed or sealed when not in use. And good housekeeping. Abrasive blasting, look at, is kind of, for abrasive blasting, guys, do we need hot work permit or cold work permit? I'm trying to keep you wake up. Abrasive blasting, do we need hot work permit or cold work permit? You can reply in the chat box or might be unmute and speak.
Hot work permit.
Hot work permit. Now the question is why? Why hot work permit?
Because he is using machinery, equipment.
Excellent, mashallah. Excellent, mashallah. And what can go wrong, by the way? Because it can create some sort of ignition source, because abrasive blasting kind of a sand blasting. So speed is there, a lot of punch to the metal. So the surface, or a speed or a pressure is hitting to the metal and could create some sort of ignition source, and ultimately equipment itself have a possibility of ignition source. So that's why we use hot work permit. And there is a very straightforward simple criteria. Any activity where we have a chance of ignition source, we have to use hot work permit. And any activity where we believe there is no chance of ignition source or any possibility of fire, or so make sure we use cold work permit. But if it is a confined space, then confined space CSC permit is mandatory. If that confined space have several energies to be connected, then for isolation and disconnection we required EULB permit as well. Equipment opening, line break. And if you are doing some mechanical ventilation by yourself through fabrication, again another hot work permit. Now, abrasive blasting, some hazards considered to be hot work may create an ignition source, high noise level as well, health hazards from silica sand. That is why silica sand is prohibited even in Saudi Aramco. Poor housekeeping, low skilled workforce is another hazard. What controls are required? Hot work permit and restricted area, operators to be tested and certified by certified coating inspector level 2. So please, this is important point, guys. An examiner can create a question. Who is responsible to testify and certify the abrasive blasting operators? Like certified coating inspector level 2. Wear PPEs including hearing protection, good housekeeping, use of silica sand is prohibited. Ionizing radiation, this is the only hazard I always mention. It's not having only long-term, even short-term health symptoms, So radiation sources are different strengths, extremely hazardous to your health, short and long-term ill health effects. NORM, naturally occurring radioactive materials. Early morning, if it is hard for you to wake up, the first thing you need to observe how much radiations you are getting within your room from your mobiles. Maybe all 4 mobiles are on charging. You are 4 people living together in one room. Everybody have 1 or 2 mobiles and all are mostly on charging. Then you have laptop, then you have Wi-Fi connections. Then you have LED, maybe watching some, and dishes there, watching some movies and all that. So you are living in a radiative environment. So radiations are everywhere. And with that everyday, kind of living style, and unfortunately we are bound to live nowadays because screen addiction is becoming mandatory. By the way, it's unavoidable actually, because our job, our nature of job, our kind of requirements, because of this COVID-19, we are bound to use technology, right? But on the other side, we are in trouble because all are radiations. And if you are not waking up actively early morning, one of the reason is the radiations, the terrible effects on your health of radiation. That is why you are so much lazy, your muscles are not being active, your brain is not active so much, and you hate to wake up. You truly want to sleep most of the time, and you don't realize that one of the reason is the radiative environment actually. So in that scenario, if you are working in a company where everywhere you have machines, they're also leaving a lot of radiations. Same like hospitals, X-ray rooms, why they keep us away? Why they tell us stay away from X-ray room? Because radiations have terrible effects. And one of the question might be examiner can create, what is NORM stands for? Remember guys, NORM stands for what? Naturally occurring radioactive material. Now ionizing radiation, what is the best controls? Time, distance and shielding. And make sure you have RPO, radiation protection officer. And if you want to get approval as a radiation protection officer from Saudi Aramco, then your GIs should be focused 150.003, 005, 6 and 7. So 4 GIs relevant to RPO. If you want to get approval as a RPO from Saudi Aramco, focus on these GIs, okay? General instruction 150.003, 005, 006 and 7. H2S, we all know it's a terrible monster, toxic, extremely flammable, heavier than air. We can find it in producing operations, exporting operations, stabilization, almost everywhere in oil and gas, right? Now, CHB would also tell us 4 in blue color in circle 4. That means extremely hazardous to our health, can kill in minutes, in seconds, extremely flammable. Reactivity is 0 until you play with it. But the moment you start playing, reactivity will definitely go up. Extremely toxic, extremely flammable, highly reactive with oxidizers, colorless, heavier than air. And bear in mind, soluble in water. If somebody is unconscious because of H2S, don't let him drink water. And it also reacts with metal and form sulfides, asphyxiate, causing suffocation, soluble in hydrocarbons as well. Rotten egg smell, but don't rely on your nose because smell is misleading at higher concentration and it spells your nose as well. It's hard to smell anymore. Travels with wind and will settle in low areas. It's heavier than air. Anybody knows how much it is heavier than air? Any one of you, please? H2S is heavier than air. That is why it is settling in lower areas. But my question is, how much it is heavier than air? Approximately. So remember, guys, approximately 20% heavier than air. What is LEL of H2S? 4.23%. And what is UEL? 46%. So in between is flammable range, 4.3% to 46%. Lower explosive limit, upper explosive limit. Irritant to eyes, nose, and throat, reacts with strong oxidizers, may explode when in contact with nitric acid. It's an important point. You can create a question here, may explode when in contact. H2S may explode when in contact with dash. Then he's gonna give 4 options. And you have to remember nitric acid. Now, another question, what is the LEL of H2S? He can give one right option, 4.3, and rest all 3 could be wrong. And you have to choose the correct one. So LEL of H2S is 4.3%. And UEL of H2S, 46%. How H2S affects to our health? It goes into our body through nose and mouth. Body breaks it down over time, but in high concentration, it disperses your breathing, body unable to break it down. That is why you feel pneumonia, migraine, headache, pulmonary, and several other motor skin coordinations. How we detect? We have fixed gas monitors. We have portable gas monitors like MX4 Ventis or MX6 Hybrid. Personal monitor, T40 Rattler. So again, examiner can create a question here. How many types of detection, H2S detection systems are there? So bear in mind, fixed system like fixed gas monitors, portable gas monitors, and what are the names of portable gas monitors? MX4 Ventis, MX6 Hybrid, and what is the name of personal monitor? T40 Rattler. So how are we going to control, since we all know it's so dangerous? So ventilation or cleaning. Cleaning could be water wash, could be steaming, or might be we will go for purging as well. Breathing apparatus, gloves, safety glasses, goggles, coveralls, safety boots we have to use. What are the precautions? These are some of the precautions against H2S, like post-warning signs, monitor for H2S, know wind direction, and make sure you conduct gas tests. We are talking about hazards and controls area-wise, different domains as per Saudi Aramco. Ventilation of work area, emergency response plan and responsibilities. use buddy system, and what is buddy system used for? Emergency response and alarm response, and working in ideal edge. And might be he can create a question, what is ideal edge stands for? Immediately dangerous to life or health. And what is ideal edge of H2S? Remember, 100 ppm. What is the responsibility of standby man? Monitoring person for H2S monitor, proper use of H2S detection equipment, and monitoring strategy. Responsibility of standby personnel include also securing the work area, monitoring wind direction, notification for emergency assistance. Standby man means only a standby man, no other duties. So these are some emergency actions. Okay. In case of emergency, evacuate immediately, go to the muster point or assembly area. In other words, sound the alarm, assess the situation, protect rescue personnel. If you are trained for, you are authorized for, rescue victims, revive victims, get victim medical aid. So these are some actions in case of emergency. On the other side, important point, flush eyes with water for at least 15 minutes. Again, you have to remember, for how many minutes we have to flush our eyes with water if contacted to our eyes, H2S? 15 minutes. If qualified, administer oxygen, wait for the qualified help. Now, another module, fire and explosion. Fire means a combination of three, elements, like we call it heat, oxygen, and fuel. What are the hazards? Whenever we have hot work or fire and explosion, liquid hydrocarbon or gas leak, sources of ignition, accumulated trash could also be a reason. Smoking in non-designated area. We need effective controls, and the number one control is hot work permit, monitoring of work, gas testing. Areas have to be vetted. Few more controls, fire barriers, shields in place, good housekeeping, combustible materials removed, fire extinguisher and equipment. And whenever you have any hot work like cutting, welding, and brazing, definitely there could be some fire hazard, but bear in mind you have to use some controls like equipment inspection before use. Hot work permit is mandatory, ventilate the area. Look at the picture. Gas testing. And make sure you use welding screens for electric welding, and also flashback arrestor, especially for oxygen and acetylene cylinders. And also equipment turned off or isolated at shift end. And if you are working in hydrocarbon facilities, what are the controls? Cover or water seal sewers within 23 meters, 75 feet of all ignition sources. An important point, examiner can create a question here. Cover or water seal sewers within 23 meters, 75 feet of all ignition sources. Hot work is not permitted above 0% LEL. Hot work is not permitted above 0% LEL. Both points are important. Another point is important, cutting, welding, or open flame fire wash shall remain for no less than 30 minutes after work is finished. Okay, guys. Fire watch, what are the, is designated by the issuer, understand what hazards from the hot work, precautions too. That means he must be trained. The fire watcher must be trained, especially how to use fire equipment. Some hazards related to electrical arc flash, like fires, electric shock, exposure to arc flash. This gentleman without permit, without proper PPs, So he's trying to kill himself. So look at now another picture. What controls we required? Hot work permit, lockout, tag out. We use LOTO for electrical and mechanical energy mostly, but sometimes we use isolation also for electrical energy. What we do is we remove wires, we remove breakers, maybe fuses as well, just to disconnect completely, and then we start working. Ground for circuit interrupter, we call it GFCI, ground for circuit interrupter, but that can be used for 110 volts equipments, and if it is above than that, then RCB, residual current device, for 220. Approach boundaries for live work and qualified individuals wearing PPs to work on electrical equipment and certified electrical equipment. Electrical fire hazards, look at the picture. Damaged power cores, overloaded extension cords, unsafe space heaters, accumulated trash, and poor storage in housekeeping. Make sure you have regular inspections, UL listed equipment. UL means underwriter laboratories listed equipment, That's acceptable to Saudi Aramco. Use of GFCI and fire extinguisher. Qualified person for maintenance. And for exercise, question and answers, I'll share inshallah the links. Emergency preparedness. There are, Saudi Aramco have evaluated several employees, they are unaware of high risk work areas, local alarm sounds, even correct actions on hearing alarm, what to do, muster points locations, they are unaware. And also your work is affected by the work of others. EOLB, equipment opening line break, hot work. So we need proper orientation, simple. And most importantly, surrounding jobs that may affect your work have been communicated to you SIMOP, like simultaneous operations. So proper awareness we need to give. I will definitely prepare one video for safety orientation of Saudi Aramco, and that will be helping inshallah for emergency responses as well. Otherwise, the response plans, there are some hazards, lack of planning. They don't understand, nobody understand what to do, how to do, their roles and responsibilities, and they're not trained, for response plan actions actually. That's why Saudi Aramco is giving some controls. What they're suggesting, make sure you have written emergency response and rescue plans for all high risk work and jobs. And make sure the confined space work, such as inert entry, workers are aware of roles and responsibilities. Rescue is trained to carry out the plan. Contractor plan must fit with existing site rescue plans. Even for reporting, Saudi Aramco says some hazards are there. Nobody knows how to report, what actions to take, where are the muster points, no ability to report emergencies, So what are the controls? Dial 110, but now we have 911, okay? 911. So some of the material, some of the presentations are not updated by Saudi Aramco, but radio call, training on what to do in an emergency, response actions required, alternative muster points must be there. So guys, these were the, 8 sort of modules we discuss in book number 1, like identify practices, hazards and conditions that can lead to an incident. And we also understood the methods and some sort of recognition and control, how we're going to control and recognize the hazards. And we also understood the common workplace hazards and associated controls. And I'm sure, it will surely give you some idea. And the moment you will join any of the training center, now I'm trying to find the solution. Whoever will be getting training, suppose from me on Thursday, even though free of cost, I'm trying to convince Saudi Aramco, some of the officials, to go for only for the exam. If you are already trained, like you will only go to the third-party training institute only for the exam. Rest of the preparation you are doing really well by yourself, through me, through my video channel. You know, I'm trying to convince them. Otherwise, I'll find another option, and that was the reason to plan some free sessions also. That there is one institute in collaboration with Best International. They are providing 2 Fridays. You know, like one Friday, you go to them. They give you some training, and next Friday some revision, and ultimately you go for the exam actually. So 2 Fridays option is also there.